Hey guys. Alright, so a lot of babe banners this month. Yep, that's a pretty good one. But I usually don't do these type of videos, but there's definitely a little bit to talk about with this one. So yeah, let's do it. Should you pull?
Let the lesson begin.
What's up guys, Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Today's video is going to talk about the double special heroes banner, and it's a sort of should you pull, sort of Duo Lif, Duo Dorothea sort of analysis. I'm not actually going to focus on the other colors of this banner, primarily blue, colorless, and green. I'll try to just sum it up for you guys that are interested in those particular colors or those units, but this video will definitely focus on the value of the red here, which is obviously Lif and Dorothea, because it does have some pretty solid value or impact for those of you that are considering it. We did just go through a Hero Fest, which is also really good, and CYL 5, of course. So many of you are probably drained of orbs, and I'm suspecting that we'll probably get Ashera, a new legendary, probably Micaiah, and Fallen Edelgard potentially at the with the upcoming legendary. So this is kind of a oof in the middle, bad timing sort of banner, but it's still worth acknowledging, and maybe it'll help some of you make a decision on whether it's worth it or not, including myself, because honestly, even I'm a little bit conflicted on this one. So without further ado, before we do, smash the like button, sub if you haven't already, and of course, that always helps. Thanks, guys. Let me know in the comments what you're planning to do with this, or this is just a total skip. That always helps. Yeah, so let's go. First up, if you don't know why a duo hero or the duo heroes of Doro, Dorothea, and Duo Lif are so important, especially since they're sharing red, it's because on defense, dual hindrance is basically a must. Okay, so I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of an example here before we talk about duos and harmonious heroes in general. Think of this as a pretty simple layout here, but you're almost always going to have a duo on defense if you care about air defense in any sort of fashion, because you need to shut down enemy dual skills. Dual skills are very strong. A lot of people probably have Lin, and because of that, you don't want to like expose your team to basically just get super sweeped out by something like Ninja Lin, which was given for free to many people. So the reason Duo Lif and Duo Dorothea are so good is because they're actually solid, like top line duo heroes. To be honest, if I was to like go through the duo heroes in general, I'd say only like NY Peony and Duo Sigurd are basically the only ones that are just as competitive for that dual hindrance slot. Now, when it comes to like F2P and orb saving, I'd say that Peony and Duo Dorothea and Duo Sigurd are technically the best options here, but Duo Lif is a solid like one-off as well, because he does basically shut down anything that's pretty much green. He does really well against damage reduction and even beats some like tanks that are blue because he's just that ridiculous with that weapon. He also really benefits from Pathfinder and just kind of like in this layout, like just going in there and almost always activating his weapon. He works really well on rally traps, and in general, he's just one of the very strong red threats if you don't really have a good red unit. So as you can see, it's pretty hard to like look at the double special heroes banner and say, wow, Dorothea or Duo Lif, and I don't have any good duo heroes on defense. Because if you honestly don't have Duo Sigurd, Duo Lif or Duo Dorothea already, or Duo Peony, then you're probably not going to have some good options on defense. And I'm literally speaking from experience, because I pretty much have like Raido Micaiah or Lin or Harmonious Tiki or something like that. My options for duels on defense are pretty horrid. So of course, in my scenario, it's pretty easy for me to kind of pass on this information, why something like Lif and Harmonious Hero Dorothea might be good for you. Now, one thing I wouldn't recommend going for as a justification is pulling a Dorothea for resin battles. Literally not having like the harmonious heroes is a very small gap in rewards for resonant battles, so definitely don't do it for that reason. You're not really going to get much value out of that, no way. But when it comes to like defense consistency and just having a good solid unit on there to enable dual hindrance, it's good. So if we look at the dual heroes here as options, as I mentioned, NY Peony is going to be one of those things, and of course we're going to have stuff like pretty much Sigurd, like Duo Sigurd, Duo Dorothea, and oh yeah, I do have Duo Mia, but she's a very weak candidate when it comes to this sort of thing. So we really realistically only have like 4 good options or something like that when it comes to duel, and 2 of those being here in red and double special heroes is pretty good. So of course, as with all things that are not a spark and we play into the gacha, this is essentially what it looks like, so you have to prepare your expectations to not get disappointed. And as I said, with CYL 5 being here, and Hero Fest and Legendary Banner coming up, and possibly even a Regan Spark, it's kind of hard to see many of us having the orbs to spare. But if you don't care whether you get Lif or Dorothea, it's not that much of a cost, because even the 90th percentile, which is essentially 1 in 10 people spending 177 orbs, is like that's pretty good to at least get a solid dual hero on defense. But the majority of people will likely spend about 100 orbs at most to get one or the other, which is pretty good. It's not really that important to try to wait for the rerun, because then you're targeting them and it gets more expensive. So if you actually look at targeting them specifically, it gets way more expensive. Like, we're talking over 100 orbs for most people, and on their original run banners, I'm talking like back in January or February, the Valentine's time, it's not that good. It's not as good as what it is now, and here's definitely a place to try to target them for that reason alone. You don't get any random pity breakers or disappointments. You either get one or the other, and that really lends itself well to its value here. Hopefully I'm not like super convincing you. I'd say like the gist of this is like, if you have already one of the good dual heroes, you don't need to even think about this. Like, if you already have Peony, Sigurd, Dorothea, or Lif, you probably, like, this is an easy skip. If you have, like, let's say Mia merged, for example, she's like +5 or 6, she's probably going to do better than Lif, and she's probably a solid, like, alternative to something like Dorothea anyways. So again, those folks that have that, like, this is not for you. Don't pull for Resonant Battles either, but essentially those that are struggling on defense to find a good dual hero, this is a pretty solid time to think about this. With that being said though, I do want to actually talk about some builds and just like their overall strength here on defense. So if you actually look at Lif's stat spread, it's pretty good. I think on my first impression back when he was released, I wasn't that impressed, just because I felt like Dual Sigurd was better than him. I still stand by that. I still think Dual Sigurd is better than him, especially because Lif really gains his value through merges, and he's essentially a combat unit. But there are some things that'll make him like valuable even as a one-off in the long term, which is essentially that he pierces through damage reduction, which is a staple of many units nowadays. He essentially gets 6 to all stats, which is insane, with a fairly easy condition, and he gets an auto double. Now, what's really deceiving here is that his speed at 25 would make you think that he's just not going to like double most things that are running some sort of worry fighter effect, but in reality, when you consider mythic blessings on him and the 6 extra speed, potentially merges and flowers, he actually can get up to about 40 speed pretty easily, and even depending on your build, he's going to basically auto double everything, including those with worry fighters, and only no follow-up essentially shuts him down. On top of the immense bulk that he gets from his weapon, from allies nearby, and just his base kit in general, which is hilarious for me, because like that's literally his base kit, and that works just fine. He gets so much bulk there that he's essentially not going to die to many of the physical meta threats. So as I said, as a one-off, he does a pretty solid job and scales really well with merges. But I don't think he will age as well as the dancers. So I'm talking Peony, Dorothea, and Sigurd, and they're all good in their own ways, with probably Dorothea being the weakest of the 3, but not significantly so where you should be like stressing about it. Having a dancer and like no merges is like, it's fine. It doesn't really matter, because their combat isn't as important as the fact that they're providing some sort of utility for your team. Ground orders, Wings of Mercy, a dance, and their weapons, Gentle Dream, mobility, they're all kind of like different in some aspect here. So when we're talking about the Dorothea here, essentially she comes with Fel Candelabra, and she's a flyer, plus she's red. So compared to, let's say, Sigurd, who has that 3 movement, which is again very good, she essentially can apply ground orders for allies and she debuffs the foes that have whatever applicable highest stat. So the highest attack unit gets debuffed, the highest speed unit gets debuffed, defense and res. That's really good. She's essentially an all-in-one shrine without having to actually use shrines. So you wouldn't need Bright Shrine or Dark Shrine as often. You wouldn't really need chills because you're just literally applying all these debuffs to your enemy team that is engaging you, and that's like really good. So her utility is still solid there, and she's definitely a contender within those trifecta of duo dancers. Their added benefit, of course, is Resonant Battles rewards, but not really worth a consideration in my opinion, so don't really focus on that. Her stat spread is very offensive. She could actually end up getting snipes here and there, and her base kit is pretty good as well, which is just having that Swift Impact. With Swift Impact, she's going to likely deny some doubles on her, and with Mythic Blessings, get enough bulk to probably survive some hits and cause some shenanigans. But she'll definitely snipe things here and there, and if she doesn't, then she'll at least dance or provide utility to make the rest of your team get those kills. All in all, guys, this is a solid banner to be like contemplating whether you need to drastically improve your defense. When it comes to spending orbs, especially on banners like this, I usually skip. But when that value presents itself, it's even tough for me to really consider it, considering the actual value on defense of a very strong dual hero that will last long. I feel like Duo Lif has its place right now in the meta, but that may not always be the case because, again, a lot of these red threats kind of just showed up within the last year. I'm talking Legendary Sigurd, Dual Sigurd, Legendary Lina, like they all just kind of showed up within the past year, so they could as easily disappear if some really good blue threats on offense or tanks in general just kind of show up and say, hey, we don't care, right? So but with a dancer like Dorothea, Peony, and Sigurd, they will definitely last, and Dorothea being here with Liv to kind of just say, hey, if you need one of us, we're really good, then there is pretty low cost in doing so. So yeah, with that being said, guys, let me know what you think of this current banner. I'm not really focusing on the other colors of this double special because I think red is the gem for most players that care at all about ether raids and defense in general. So yeah, guys, comments below, smash the like button, sub if you haven't already. If you love this content, you want to show your support, and you'd like to see me keep doing this, then Patreon in the description below is the way to do it. Love you all. See you in the next one. Peace.
It's over.